Hey everyone, Andres the Newsreel here, and I'm finally going to be doing my BlackBerry KeyONE review. Actually, more of my thoughts on the BlackBerry KeyONE, because this was not meant for me. This is not a device that I use in my daily driver. This was actually meant for my contractor, and I set it up for him. I used it for a couple of days to make sure everything was being broken into just fine, optimizing the battery and all that stuff to make sure it worked just fine. And while he wasn't utilizing it, I did happened to use it for a few days after that, and I can tell you from my experiences, I am glad I passed up on the BlackBerry KeyONE. Now, hear me out, because some people were like, how could you not go for this phone? So the thing is, I was excited when this phone was first announced. I'm actually really happy with the way the hardware looks and feel. It's unique. I like that it's grippy texture in the back. The convenience key on the side, which you can program to a camera, makes it feel like it's a camera phone, like from back in the days. And of course, the touch-sensitive keyboard with haptic feedback and all that, and the fingerprint sensor here, which I never use fingerprint scanners anyway, because unfortunately, through construction, from working in labor and all that, most fingerprint readers don't work for me. And fantastic cameras apparently, because these are the same ones borrowed from the Google Pixel. So they work just fine. The battery is amazing. But the mid-range specs inside, and including the 3 gigabytes RAM that powers this device, that's what I knew was going to cripple me. And that's exactly what happened. So often, it happened every single day and multiple times during the day, this device would just come to a complete crawl. Sometimes I would just unplug from a charger and I wouldn't be able to unlock the screen for about 5 minutes as all the processes seem to settle in. I am a multitasker and I'm a RAM hog, and I'm not using, I'm not talking about like media intensive stuff like games or stuff. I'm far from it. I don't really have time for any of that. I'm talking about media transfer and content creation, because of what I deal with in real estate, property management, and construction, because we're always dealing with media and transferring from here to there, and 3 different exchange servers having to run through a single device. That's why I go for flagship devices. I don't go for them because I need to have the latest and greatest or whatever of the sort. No, it's just that flagships are the ones that are able to keep up with me, and most of the time I run those to the ground in 6 months, and then I have to look to either the optimize the software again through software updates that hopefully are pushed through, or look to replace my phone. That's why I had such a varied amount of phones over time. Now, this guy, maybe with 4 gigabytes of RAM would be a lot better, but I would never know, because that's not sold here in the States. You know, I could import it, but the thing is, it doesn't work on Verizon. This is the Verizon variant. I have not been able to test it with a GSM SD card, so I don't know what any network capability it might have outside of Verizon, if any. I can continue vouching for the camera and the battery after all this time. I just got this phone back as my contractor is out on vacation for now. I have not been pleased with the mono firing speaker. I really wish they were stereo like on the BlackBerry Classic, but it's not. The screen, on the other hand, is very good for a full HD, and that's kind of why I pulled out my HTC One M8 recently, because like, well, that's full screen, that's full HD at 1080p, and just as is this one. Now, I do wish that these hardware capacitive keys were more software, so you don't have to be accidentally touching them when you're swiping up on the keyboard, but well, which is what it is. But other than that, no complaints about making phone calls, no complaints about signal, no complaints about keeping up with the day. It's just some certain bugs that were really bothering me about the phone coming to a crawl even on some mundane tasks. I thought maybe a software update was going to help. Well, this one just got the security patch for September 5th, I believe. And it has not solved that problem. So that 700 megabyte system update did not resolve the issues that I was having with this phone, and my contractor was having to a lesser extent, because he doesn't use it as intensively as I do. This is his second line. He carries 2 lines. This is his secondary phone, so it's not his primary. If I were using it as my primary, then yeah, it's definitely exhausting. But other than that, the signature BlackBerry experience through the softwares are all there with the productivity. I love what they do with the productivity tab and how they're cleaning it up, and of course the BlackBerry launcher and the keyboard functions and all that. So I use that across all of my Android devices, so I'm really happy that it continues to be here, and I like it. That on top of stock Android, it's just, that's the way I use my phones. I did like that this is a great foundation for TCL's BlackBerry to build off of for the next devices, and now that the BlackBerry in Motion, as I call it, is scheduled to come out this month, I'm a little bummed. I'm happy that it's got water resistance on board. That's very important. I'm happy that it's full screen. I am not too happy with the design. It looks a little, oh, come on, it's dated. And secondly, I'm not happy it's mid-range specs. That means I gotta pass up on it. Yes, it's 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, if I'm able to get my hands on it, maybe I'll give it a shot. But if I'm not just gonna go out there and buy it. I'm not one of those that just gets devices like through Amazon or whatever and takes advantage of the review period and sends a device back. I'm not one of those guys. Don't be one of those guys, reviewers. I've seen other reviewers encourage that kind of behavior. I think it's awful. It's stupid. And I don't want hand-me-downs from a place where I wanted a brand new phone, and if the stock is being taken up by all these people just holding it for 1 week and then sending it back, and they send it back with blemishes on it, that's not fair. That really isn't fair. And honestly, that's messing up sales numbers, y'all. So, and returns don't look good. So anyway, that's my little PSA there for buying devices and on the return window. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the BlackBerry KeyONE. So maybe the Key 2, yeah, that's what they call it, or whatever other device TCL has in the works with BlackBerry. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.